now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, Creatures of the Night.
Welcome to a new episode of Creatures of the Night, everyone. As always, we are your hosts, Morta
and Swanthula,
the Boulet Brothers, the Queens of Darkness. And today we have a very special episode. We were recently guests at Midsummer Scream, and we were invited to do a panel, a very large panel, right, would you say?
A very well-attended panel.
You know, it's only a couple thousand people, no big deal. But they invited us to do a panel where we discussed our top 10 killer looks from horror history. So what does that mean? That doesn't necessarily mean that the look is iconic, right? Because Freddy has an iconic look.
Absolutely.
But I would not put Freddy on this list.
Why? Because it's just a skirt and sweater.
It's literally a sweater.
Yeah.
It's a sweater. Now, it is an iconic look. It's an iconic combo. Yeah. It's memorable. Maybe if we were doing the 10 most iconic looks, Freddy would be on there, but we're not. Right. So Michael Myers and his mechanic suit is not included. Chucky and her little jumpsuit is not included.
That's a no.
Right. So these are like, what are the qualifications for these?
And her Jason and her mask for mask, that's also a no. Okay, so our qualifiers are this. The first and foremost is you need a striking impression. This is a look that stays with you when the credits are rolling and you leave the theater, and maybe you even think about it like years to come. It could leave an impression, especially when you're young, and really kind of shape your view of the horror world. So striking impression is number one. Number two, it needs to be fabulous. It needs to be fabulous and fashionable and creative. We don't want to see things that we've seen 100 times. And number three is the fear factor, the horror. I mean, obviously, one of the powerful tenets of what we're looking for when it comes to fashion in the world of horror. Ian is already here with us, and I'm curious what your experience was at Midsummer Scream.
Well, hello, and my take was that it was incredible. This was actually the Midsummer Scream that I have been waiting for. And by that, I mean the booth looked amazing. The lines for the meet and greets were stunning. The Boulet Brothers Dragula competitors were amazing, and y'all looked incredible.
Thank you. When you said booth, I thought you were going to say booze for a minute.
Oh, well, the booze was flowing out. We did have a couple of shots of tequila.
Midsummer Scream has a fully stocked bar, several of them actually, and I noticed a lot of people partaking this year.
Me too, and I question that too, because I don't know what people may think of us or not, but we don't tend to partake very often. If we're working on tour, that's one thing, but I don't let my hair down that way, honey, especially if I'm in public, like I'm together, but I'm like, look at all these people like boozing it up, and then going through these little haunted houses, I'm like, this kind of looks fun.
Yeah, well, also boozing it up in the middle of the day. I was like, honey, it's 2 p.m. You're getting crazy.
As one does. It's a Saturday, it's a Sunday afternoon, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
You know, it's a different lifestyle, right? I feel like some people sit home and they kind of drink and mow their grass and do whatever all weekend, and I feel like they're like, this is my time off.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna go to this convention and have some drinks. And I'm like, it probably would make those meet and greet lines much more tolerable.
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on. You're talking about staying at home, getting drunk, mowing your lawn. I'm like, this sounds like a party for me, honey. I'm ready.
Okay, so let's start before we get into the actual proper top 10 countdown. We have some honorable mentions. These are characters that stand out, didn't make the cut, but are definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah, and why would you say they didn't, or is it different for each one?
I don't know. I think it is on a case-to-case basis. This was a consensus, right? So the three of us sort of had to agree, and I think we boiled it down to the most significant 10. But of course, we all have our own flavor and take and preferences when it comes to the world of horror. So my entries for honorable mention are going to be very different than Ian's and very different from Drax.
So my first honorable mention is Lily Munster from The Munsters, of course.
Yes.
Yvonne DiCarlo.
Yes.
Does everyone agree with?
Oh, she's iconic.
She is iconic. I was actually a little surprised you put her as an honorable mention because I think that she is super fabulous. But then when we actually get into the actual top 10, you're like, oh, sorry, Lily.
Yeah,
Go home.
it's true. But yeah, I think her look had such an impact on a certain generation. You know, she was like the goth queen. And yes, the Addams Family was around a little before that. But I think Morticia had a different... Back then, Morticia seemed more subdued than I think with the Addams Family movies. I feel like Angelica Houston really You know, maybe it was the color of it. I don't know.
Well, I think too, when I think about Angelica Houston and I mean the Morticia, like there is no other for me. But for me, it's the makeup, it's the face and the wig. Like the outfit is. I mean, she looks fabulous, but I'm like, Mama, the mug was stamped.
Yeah. And you would maybe be inclined to say, well, maybe she looks a little generic in terms of like similar to Vampira, similar to Elvira. You know, they all sort of draw from the same well. But the Addams Family cartoon, I'm pretty sure, was before Vampira existed. So I don't know. Maybe she got inspiration from her. I'm not sure.
Well, Lily really stands out, I think, for two reasons. Because of the tone of her dress. Because when you see those T-shirts, and I've seen a million of them, especially coming right off the heels of Midsummer Scream, where there's like silhouettes of iconic female characters. And I'm like, first of all, I love your shirt. Secondly, there are two spots that are actually missing. But third, you can see Lily's really stands out because the dress is pale. She's not in black, and the stripes in the hair. Yeah. I mean, you can just boil it down to two tones. If it's black and white, you would know who Lily Munster is, and that's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
My first choice for an honorable mention would be from one of my favorite horror movies of all time, from Hellraiser, Julia Cotton.
Oh, yes.
I wish Julia was on the main list. I think as a female horror icon, she is way up there for me, and I would love to give her more love. But as far as her looks,
don't go there.
They're cool, but they don't compete with the top 10.
It's
right?
no, but she is iconic. I think she's absolutely underrated. And both of her looks in the movie, I think, are worth mentioning. She has that first where her skin is like removed and she looks like the Invisible Woman, and she's got kind of like this drapey, almost Bride of Frankenstein dress on, and then she appears completely skinless, doused in blood in a white power suit
with the cigarette, honey.
Oh my God. I was excited when the first time I saw that image.
Oh yeah.
What about you?
Ooh, okay. So my first honorable mention, I think, is an honorable mention because the film is horror, but it's more action adventure, I think, and it's Celine from the Underworld franchise.
Okay.
Because, Mama, when we talk about like Lily Munster and Morticia inspiring a generation of goths, I'm like, there's an entire generation of mall goths who owe their life to Celine in that full leather black, those big stomping boots.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
You know I'm a fan of that movie.
I know. I just recently rewatched Underworld, and I was like, this stands up. It's so cunty. I love it.
I do too.
No comment. No, but those are not my favorite movies. That's why. I don't even know if I know who that is, to be completely honest with you.
It's got it all. It's got camp. It's got vampires lisping through their fangs. It's got hot werewolves.
I'm like, is it Neo from The Matrix? I don't know. Is it there's so many movies. I'm like, no, not my thing.
All right, Jack, who is your number 2 honorable mention?
Number 2 for me is Melanie Daniels. Of course, I'm talking about the main character from The Birds, played by Tippi Hedren. I think this look is timeless. It still to this day influences fashion, I think. It was very unique, and yeah, that's it.
It really stands out.
Yeah.
For me, it is Dr. Decker from Nightbreed. Now, we're not talking about one of the mutants living in Midian. We're talking about the serial killer who was kind of like a surprise character. And that face, that zipper-mouthed face, is horrifying still to this day.
Not a mutant of Midian. You always got the deep cut knowledge on the weirdest 80s show. I love it. I love it.
I was impressionable.
And what about you?
All right, so I guess I had like a vampire kink or something. I mean, hi, hello, or welcome to the podcast.
Wow, you just discovered.
Weird, because my second honorable mention, it's a throuple, and these are Dracula's brides from the like mid-2000s Van Helsing.
They were on, they were floating around my list too. Drac and I was talking like, oh my God, from Van Helsing specifically. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, they're hot too. Yeah. Because Bram Stoker's brides are also equally hot.
Well, it's every time that the brides are represented. I mean, I think it's required that the brides look cunty.
The shit is striking. Like even way back to the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the 3 brides just kind of like slowly coming forward. It's very, very powerful.
Actually, weren't they in light colors? They were.
They were.
So maybe that's where the Lily Munster inspiration comes from.
Maybe.
Who knows? Yeah. I'm here trying to find out everybody's secrets today.
She's trying to look under my skirt.
Who's ripping off who? That's why we're here today.
Who's ripping off Freddie's skirt and sweater combo?
A lot of people at Midsummer were. I'll tell you.
I'll tell you that.
But the one standout was so cute, and I was like, girl, you knew exactly what you were doing. You made this sweater.
What, the front row girl?
No, she had come through the meet and greet. Maybe she was front row. I didn't notice her though, because like the lights I couldn't see. But she had the striped sweater on, but she had like kind of deconstructed it and then reapplied the stripes with safety pins. And just there with her in the front, when her rack was on full display, mama.
Not rack.
Yes, rack.
Wow.
Yes.
All right. My next honorable mention is Norman Bates as Norma Bates, obviously, as Mother. Why is it an honorable mention? Okay, this is an iconic look. We all can agree with that. But it's also awful. It is also tip level drag at the club on Sundays
on a
when you're trying
Tuesday
out.
night.
Yeah, it's not. It's really bad, hard ass, little weird mom wig. It's terrible.
It's tip gig, hard front wig, first time at the gig up in drag.
I would be giving her all my tips just to throw it out there, but to each their own.
Honestly, when I see those memes and it's like, you know, January through December, which killer are you? And there are silhouettes of all the killers, and a lot of them are really easy, but you still know. You're like, oh, that little fucked up wig and the knife, you know it's Norma.
Exactly. That's what makes it iconic, but it's also not iconic because it's terrible.
Yes.
Little wig and a knife.
Speaking of iconic but not so terrible, my last honorable mention for this session of the honorable mentions is going to be Levitsa Joven from Ghostbusters. We're talking about Gozer the Gozerian. Oh my God, if I could embody a character back, like when I was a kid and I saw that for the first time, I'm like, her hair looks good, her nails look good, she's shooting lightning, she's backflipping, she's like a demon princess. Like, I love it.
The number of times that you have embodied Gozer the Gozerian in the times that I have known you, I mean, like, I feel like you are Gozer.
Thank you.
Now, wait, is there any actual difference between her and Ursa from Superman?
Oh my God, another character that I love.
Right? I mean, these are like the same characters who broke into several movies.
Yes.
Like, well, she didn't work in this one. Let's put her in this
Yes.
one.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Not the long legs treatment.
Well, before we jump into the actual top 10 list proper, we are going to take a break and we will be right back. Hello, my darlings. Welcome back to the show. And it's time we talk about our number 10 entry on our top 10 killer looks from the world of horror.
Let's hear it. What is it?
So coming in at number 10, Aaliyah as the Queen of the Damned. We're talking about Akasha.
Yes. So fierce.
Such an iconic look. Now, I told this story at the panel, but I'm going to retell it.
Say it again, Drac.
I will.
Let him know.
The first time I saw this movie, I saw it in the theater. Okay.
Me too.
And I was gagged. I was gagged at how bad it was. It was so bad. It was so low budget looking. They had this scene where it was like a concert and everyone was in the crowd, and all the people in the crowd, I swear to God, were extras from our club, from the club that we used to do back then. No, I mean, for real, they were.
Like
Oh,
literally.
like legitimately.
We
Like
recognize people,
literally,
yes.
it was a bunch of these kind of gothy, like slash punk,
Slash rejects. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
yeah. And so what really set it off was they had plastic devil pitchforks like from Rite Aid.
Well, listen, the Rite Aid's right there, honey.
It was so bad. And so then I'm
No,
watching.
I
and
actually
I'm like,
think it was from the Halloween section at Walgreens.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, the Walgreens section at Halloween.
so I'm sitting there watching it, and then she appears on screen for the first time, and I am floored. I mean, she's gorgeous, she's everything, and I'm like, this explains it all. They spent their entire budget on her.
Yes, they did.
100%.
They really did. They got that movie so wrong. And I'm a huge fan of Anne Rice. I've read them all the Vampire Chronicles, all the witches, all the Sleeping Beauties, all of them. And I was so disappointed until Akasha came on screen. And then I was like, this is the ancient vampire that I imagined.
You gooped me at Midsummer when you mentioned your love of Anne Rice, and you saved the Sleeping Beauty series for last. I was like, girl, you know them all.
Oh, yeah.
She does.
I do.
Yeah, so obviously we all agree Akasha definitely belongs on the top 10 list.
Yes.
I mean, it was instantly, you instantly saw it and you knew this was iconic.
I saw a couple of Akashas at Midsummer as well.
Did you?
Yeah, actually,
cool.
It was weird because I didn't see them until we had finished the panel, and then it was like Akasha 1, Akasha 2, okay, and now I'd enter Akasha 3. Thank you. Like,
And then there's Akasha Davis. Oh wait, no, that's DragCon.
Different convention.
Oh my God,
different look.
we need the hybrid meme of Akasha Davis and Akasha. We need to merge
No, we
them.
don't. No, we
there's
don't need
always
it.
time for a blood cocktail. There's always time for kindness.
It sounds offensive.
Drac, why don't you announce number 9?
Number 9 is Vampira.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Now look, like I mentioned before, I don't know if she drew inspiration from the Addams Family or the Addams Family drew inspiration from her. You think I know that, but I don't. But I know that for someone who was only on TV for a short period of time, her image still to this day is in everybody's head. We all know who Vampira is. And so to me, that is absolute iconic behavior.
100%. She's like the blueprint for iconic female horror hosts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And fun little story, which I also told at the convention, but I knew her, before she passed away. I interviewed her in LA and we hung out and we went to dinner and stuff. And she was fabulous. I really just think she was everything. And she gave me some drawings and poems and stuff that she had done. And I still have them. No one's ever seen them.
So cool.
And I kind of want to share them. I don't know where, but I'm going to one day.
You should.
Yeah.
Okay, coming in at number 8, this is from the world of fantasy and darkness, I would say. And the character actually is called Darkness. Tim Curry from Legend.
Yes, an iconic look and an iconic performance from an iconic actor.
Yes. The proportions on these horns, like I didn't really know what to make of them when I was a kid. I was like, damn.
I mean, there's been great monster makeup before that, but to me, that was a turning point because it just looked so unclockable to me. Like I wasn't super familiar with actors and all that back when I saw this movie, but I had no idea that was Frankenfurter.
Yeah.
I was gagged when I found out later.
Me too. And it just like what an amazing character in a sick film because it's not just darkness that's cool. I mean, we took influence from the dancing dress. We wore it on the end of season 1. I love Una, that dark fairy, the goblins.
You are Una, the dark fairy.
I love it.
I also feel like if we're going to talk about Vampira as being like a blueprint, I feel like darkness is sometimes a blueprint for Israel. Like I'm like, you're wearing these little shoulder pads, honey. Your tits are out. Like, okay.
The voice is a little different.
Well, the lack of voice.
Okay, coming in at number 7, it's our ghost with the most, Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice. Yay! So iconic.
Now this, some people might be like, what? Beetlejuice is on this list? But Beetlejuice is on this list because it's horror comedy, immediately recognizable and iconic.
Hugely influential too. Even just thinking about what we saw at Midsummer Scream, people use that pattern, that palette of striped black and white with the green pops of color. I mean, it's so distinctly Beetlejuice.
We even saw it with Fantasia Royale Gaga's promo look for season 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so much cool imagery comes out of that movie. Lydia's look is iconic. Otho's look is iconic. Like, it's amazing.
Miss Argentina.
Exactly. Thank you.
And also, to all of the little bearded Beetlejuices running around, I'll say your name 3 times.
Did you see any at Midsummer?
Oh, yeah. I clocked one immediately upon walking in. He was walking around with a Lydia, and I'm like, get out of my way, bitch.
Ian shows up in a red jockstrap
I mean, hey.
With little points in his hair.
and a veil.
Oh, so my regular outfit anyway. That was like basically Queen Kong.
Okay, our number 6 is kind of a tough for me. It's a tough pill to swallow because I feel like she maybe deserves to be a little closer to the number 1 spot. I'm not saying number 1, but I am saying a little closer. But she definitely belongs on the list because what an iconic look. Sadie Frost from Bram Stoker's Dracula, Lucy transformed in the crypt.
Yes. In the wedding gown with the, oh my gosh.
With the baby and all of it, the spitting blood. I mean, what a scene.
Yeah.
You know it left its mark on you too.
I mean, look, as a dark-sided person who saw this film when it's in theater, nothing impacted me more than her look as a drag artist. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the look.
Amazing. And despite Keanu Reeves' efforts to make me hate that movie, because I do hate him in that movie. God, if he didn't exist in the movie, I would be so happy. It would be like my favorite horror movie. But it's up there now. Maybe not my favorite because I love, love, love Lucy's look. I mean, Gary Oldman is like iconic in that movie Inside and Out. Transformed as the werewolf beast, as the wolf, like dispersing in the pile of bats. It's so cool.
Honestly, I would say this movie it absolutely is one of the top 3 most fashionable horror movies.
Definitely.
The top
Absolutely.
5. Yeah. When you think about just what you were mentioning, all the armor, the red muscle armor, never had seen that before. Lucy's look.
Yeah, that vampire gentleman look, the gray suit with the top hat and the goggle,
was
the glasses.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Even the special effects on Gary Oldman's fingers with the long, creepy little face.
Yeah.
I was like, God, this is so cool.
Really good.
So that one is, I think we're all on the same page with her. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
So officially, that is the first 5 entries on our top 10 killer looks from the world of horror. And before we go any further diving into the top 5, we're going to do a few more honorable mentions because there's so many. I mean, the horror world is so huge and so many people love different characters. So this is an opportunity to kind of celebrate the ones that we favor but didn't make the list.
I want to know if people at home agree with us or disagree.
Ooh,
So I want them to tweet us or send us email at creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com and let us know what you think of our list.
Yeah.
But we can have a Twitter fight too. We can do that.
should love a
Specifically,
Twitter fight.
who do you agree with more? Me, Drac, or Ian?
Or do you agree with the actual official top 10 list?
Yes.
And we will be counting the names, so sleep tight.
So we're going to kick off our next list of honorable mentions with Tiffany from Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
Cute. Oh, Swan.
Oh no, I love it. I love it. Like the wedding dress and the leather jacket of it all, and it's so campy. Like, of course, I'm a fan.
It's so 90s trash rock and roll.
Love it.
Bride.
I
Like,
love the
yes.
eyebrows.
We know so many bitches like her. Like, oh my god, IRL.
And so many Tiffany's at Midsummer.
Were there a
Yeah.
lot? I didn't notice.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw 3 at the panel alone.
See, I could only see who came in our meet and greet line because we didn't go around any. And when we were in the panel, like with the contacts, you can't see past the light, so
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have any idea who was even there.
Were we even there? I don't know.
So Tiffany, iconic,
Yes.
right? Everyone knows if you see her, you know who she is.
Very
immediately.
fun. Yeah. My first up on this next wave of honorable mentions, maybe not as iconic as Tiffany and some of the other entries, but I do think she's worth mentioning because as far as I know, she's one of the only female werewolves represented in the horror world. Like, someone needs to make a new female werewolf movie. But we're talking about Catherine Isabel, who plays Ginger from Ginger Snaps.
Oh, I love Ginger Snaps.
It's fun.
It's so good.
It's really cool.
like underrated too.
It is underrated. Her look when she's transforming, not the full werewolf look, but when her
Was it the
her
Halloween party?
Yes, and her brows go, yeah, and her hair's turning. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, she looks so cool. And then the white female werewolf is
Yeah.
very cool.
Love that.
So when you all say she's underrated, you're talking about me. It's me. I'm the underrated because I'm the one on Rotten Tomatoes putting 0 every time.
Totally. Swan and I, we're the 100% freshometer warriors, and
Yes.
Drax over here rotten.
Hated it.
Hate her eyebrows.
Hate her.
Ian, what about you?
I'm going to go with Christian Bale in American Psycho as Patrick Bateman. So, yes, she is wearing a business guy's suit, but I think there's so much iconic lore around the movie. Like, Rolex refused to allow Christian Bale to wear a Rolex watch, but they gave Rolexes to everyone else in the cast. Prada refused to let him wear a Prada suit because they didn't want the brands to be associated with him as a character. And it's like, so everything he wears is knockoff, which kind of like
that's
leads to the
funny.
character.
Yeah.
And then he wears this like literally just a plastic raincoat, and that's his like kill outfit. And I'm like, this is cute. I love this movie.
I got to go ahead, Drac.
When you were deciding who you wanted to be when you grew up, how much of an influence did this character?
So before you answer that, because Drac and I chose to speak at the same moment, I was going to say this character and you definitely share some genetic material. Like, I'm like, y'all's DNA is like intertwined.
I love it. I love this book. Actually, I love the book more than anything. Like, the movie is really fun because I think the movie is like basically horror comedy, whereas the book is just pure horror. But yeah, I definitely feel like I am, I'm walking on sunshine, but also murder.
It's like American Psycho meets a very gay Deadpool.
The compliment of a lifetime.
But then there is
Seriously.
a little 2% sad girl, which I love when it comes out when you do your journals and poems and stuff.
Yes! Listen, it's journals, poems, and midnight snacks on the bus.
You said sad girl, and I'm going to put this out in the universe. I want a sad girls only challenge on an upcoming season of Dragula.
I love it.
I want drama. I want the gothic aesthetic represented. It's going to be good.
I want Lana out the window, honey. Let's go.
All right, my next honorable mention is Myrtle Snow from American Horror Story.
Yes.
Balenciaga.
A modern iconic look.
Yeah.
Right? I think, but no, the reason I don't put her on the list is because, well, she's not that big. But also, she doesn't have one particular iconic look.
She just is fashionable.
She's just fashionable,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm like, well, you can't get on the list with that, but you can be an honorable mention.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's going to be a creature character from another sort of horror fantasy movie, one of my favorite movies of all time, actually, which is Pan's Labyrinth, and it's the Pale Man.
Okay.
She's not featuring any clothes at all. She's featuring saggy titties and weird eyeballs in her hand. But you know, when you saw that and she's like biting off the heads of those fairies and everything, like that was horror. And it was very memorable.
Skin folds, honey. Let's go. What you hiding?
She's like back rolls, front rolls, side rolls.
Is it iconic? Yes. Is it fashionable? We're going to say yes as well. Mine is also a modern horror iconic look, and this would be Lady Dimitrescu from the Resident Evil game, Resident Evil Village.
That's definitely, that's a good one.
No, 100%.
And she's an honorable mention for me because I think that sort of everything, the combo is iconic. It's the big hat, the giant bazongas, the huge claws, and she's like 9 feet tall, but she wearing a white dress. Like, she wearing a white frock.
She is, but the look was iconic because everyone on TikTok was like doing versions of her looks. That's a great example of a modern iconic horror look, I think.
I agree.
She looked great. Also, she has like kind of Dracula's daughters as well. And it's weird because she wears white and her daughters wear black.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're fierce.
Why is she 9 foot tall?
She is 9 feet tall because of genetic mutation.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So she's not a ghost or something? She's actually a physical character?
Yeah, so, and it's weird because she's like the big marketing push of the game, but spoilers, she's only in like the first like 2 hours of the game, but she is a vampire because of genetic mutation that takes place in the village. So she literally becomes a vampire.
Oh, do you kill her in the game?
Mm-hmm. And it's, oh my God, the fight is crazy.
Sounds cool.
It does.
That's great. You should play it.
Next up on my list, I don't know if you all will agree with me or not, is Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, totally.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
She's
But
great.
She is great, but let's be completely honest. From the neck up, it's Robert Smith. It's Robert Smith, which means you cannot be on our top 10 list.
Oh,
It's, it's like Robert Smith, like pre and post Ozempic somehow, depending on like what year.
Yeah, she don't look like that anymore.
Oh, no.
But at one point, I mean, Robert Smith looks crazy. I'm just going to say it. If you
Today,
don't know,
especially,
Google
she looks
her
wild.
today. It is madness.
Yeah.
I just saw a thing that was like talking about like when baby boomers, their generation, and it's like Robert Smith is like smack dab in the baby boomer generation. They're
Is
like,
he?
oh, they got her. They got her.
My final entry for the honorable mentions is Helen Sharp after she gets buckshotted through the stomach and thrown into the fountain from Death Becomes Her.
Oh my God.
It's not the biggest look in the room. However, when you see it and that giant gaping hole in her chest and her eyes and everything, it was really cool.
It's not about like, is it the biggest though? It is fashionable because the red hair and the dress, it was so striking at the time. And then with the mixing glamour and horror.
My favorite combination.
What I love too is that's how you do a reveal because she shows up and she's wearing, you know, the red sweater and she's wearing the black pants and she looks great, but she just sort of is showing up to be like, oh, let's bury Madeline. And then cut to, it's like full makeup change, like outfit reveal. I was like, oh.
She came out with the wet look.
Wig change. And I have one final honorable mention.
Okay.
And this one is an honorable mention because I think that it would be seen as favoritism otherwise, but I had y'all as my number one. I was like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, wait, I don't think I can do that. Because again, also, so many iconic looks. Let's be
Thank you.
real.
Well,
It's
I
true.
can look at us objectively and say, in the modern universe of horror, I do think that we have an impact as far as fashion goes, that there's two of us. We have very solid branding. You know, it seems that our look has permeated that whole horror
space. Yeah, it really has. It's influential for sure.
Yeah.
My favorite shit is when I see like tattoos or people that dress like us for Halloween. Like that is like the ultimate homage and like compliment when people
So cool.
do us for Halloween. You know?
Oh my gosh! I saw secondhand a tattoo it was y'all as the marionettes, and then I was like a little voodoo doll at the
my
feet.
God,
I was
that's
like,
so cute.
Gag.
Love it. All right, my darlings, it's time for another break, and we shall return. Welcome back, lovers. It is time we dive into our top 5 iconic looks from the world of horror.
This is going to be a thing. I bet the listeners are going to be like mad.
I know you're not giving them the veto power.
I know.
Not tonight.
I mean, I will say this. This is an impossible list to put together.
It really
yeah.
is. And you know what? It would change too. If someone asked us next week what it would be, it might be different because the world of horror is always changing.
Yeah, and you remember stuff that you didn't think of. So it's like, look, take this list with a grain of salt, even though it is now the official list.
Oh, this is canon, honey.
Midsummer Scream stamped it with the Halloween seal of approval. The Great Pumpkin said yes, and this is your list, undisputed.
Oh, that's so good.
Number 5 on our list is none other than, drum roll, Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Tim Curry on our list twice.
Yes,
A fashion
not-
icon.
maybe not, again, the biggest look, a very striking look that everybody immediately recognizes.
Her Transylvania fashions have been rippling through time, influencing generations, literally.
Generations of seasons of our show.
What I love too is I think that I can safely say the 3 of us are all Frankenfurters. Like, we're so in that universe. Like,
Yeah.
we just like, it's like, I remember the first time I saw them, I was like, oh, this is me. This movie's me. Like, got it.
That's one of the first people I've ever identified with that movie.
For me, it was the whole world, right? I was like, oh, a place where I might feel comfortable.
Is it because of the handles?
It is. It's because of the handles. It's because of the rainbow soaking tubs.
Yes. The sonic oscillator.
Coming in at number 4, another character who has left their mark not only in the world of film but also in Dragula, because we did an homage back in season 1, the death of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, so The Wicked Witch of the West is on our list at number 4. The Wizard of Oz is not a horror movie.
No.
It is.
Wait, what?
It's
It is scary. It's scary.
Yeah.
No, for children, it's definitely scary.
Absolutely. But I think she redefined what a witch is.
Mm-hmm.
The green skin with the nose and the pointy hat. I mean, witches, that was not the look before then. It wasn't. She sort of invented that. And it actually have the green paint originally.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you know why they decided to go that route? Or
I don't know. I think what I read was it was because they wanted to take advantage of the color and the contrast between the black and white, because the ruby slippers in the book are not ruby slippers. They're actually magic slippers that are silver. Yeah.
Drakmorta coming in with all the hot
No, let me
facts.
let you
know
know.
it all.
Drac has read like every Frank Albaum book there is, like from the Wizard of Oz world, for sure.
I love it. I am in love with that world. I always have wanted to do an adult horror version of it, because if you look at it through a certain lens when you're reading it, it's kind of scary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's very weird. But anyways,
Yeah.
So yeah, The Wicked Witch. I think we all agree. Yeah.
Definitely.
Totally, yeah.
And coming in at number 3, I think the second character that actually this movie made our list twice, characters from this film, is Gary Oldman's Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Iconic.
My God.
That's the truth. It is iconic. It was so groundbreaking when it happened.
Yeah.
You know, when we saw the costume reveals, when he was in the older version of himself with the long red cloak, so impactful. But again, so is the armor. We talked about that. And even when he was in the dapper gentleman look, when he was like youthified.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That hair took us away from Bela Lugosi and black capes and everything. And those wraparound Dracula rolls, that's what we call them, was so influential that our very first drag wig, the very first wig we ever commissioned to be made, were Dracula rolls like Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula. And it's not just that too, because even at the very end when he pulls out of the casket and he's like drained and he's wearing that gold robe, like every look is just, it's one after the next after the next, super iconic.
I'm pretty sure that at the very least, the red armor is in like the Smithsonian as like part of like fashion collection. Like it's almost undeniable that this film had a huge impact on horror, fashion, just like you name it.
Absolutely.
It's also on our bodies in season 6.
Oh,
A version of it.
Yes, our
Can't
version of
wait.
it.
All right, so our number 2, we're getting
close.
Ooh,
Getting nervous.
I wonder how people think. Number 2 for us is The Bride of Frankenstein.
Yes.
How can you not?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's, the hair and it's such a simple look, but it's everything you need. It's striking. It's memorable. It's timeless. To this day, people still reference the look.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that look is going on 90, 100 years old?
Yeah.
I think there's an extra layer of kind of coolness and significance because the horror world is sort of lacking in female icons, right? We don't see a lot of like iconic women from the world of horror, and we do our best to mention them. But when you look back at the history, you don't see a lot. But she came out of the gate super early as one of the original Universal monsters, and her influence literally like a century later.
My issue with her in The Bride of Frankenstein when I first saw it was that I'm like, this movie is not really about you. You just have a cameo at the end.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed because I'm like, it's The Bride of Frankenstein. We're going to get a whole movie about this character. Nope. You get to see her for like 5 minutes. It's wild.
Well, I think, too, that sort of lends a little bit of her mythos and her story is she is just literally named the Bride of Frankenstein. But there's been so much work, I think, done in the time since the film has been released to sort of say, hey, no. Like, part of her narrative is that like she stands alone. Like she's iconic. Like, hello. I'm sorry. Her fashion compared to her husband's fashion? Leave his ass.
Very true.
And it's time to reveal our number 1 choice.
The number one most iconic killer look from horror history.
And that monster is...
Dun, 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 dun. Insert dramatic Casey music. Dun, 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 dun.
the queen of the Cenobites herself, Pinhead from Hellraiser. Oh.
Pinhead is it.
Yeah.
Pinhead is a fantastic choice for number 1.
Absolutely. I don't think we saw fashion like this represented. If we did, it definitely wasn't very often. But this is coming from the world of bondage, pleasure, and pain. I mean, it's iconic. Even if you remove his head, like you know exactly who you're looking at. But the head itself, like the design is so fabulous and strange and remarkable. Who else could we have chosen for number 1?
Really no one. And I mentioned this at Midsummer, but I think my favorite thing about Pinhead is there are so many Pinhead cosplays, Pinhead costumes, and things like that. But what really makes this one stand out for me is the actual design of his outfit and the makeup and the special effects. Like, it's really hard to nail. Like you can imitate it, but to really do it the way that Doug Bradley does, very difficult.
It
Absolutely.
is. And you've seen people do it poorly, even at Midsummer Screen this week.
And I love it. I really do.
I want to also give a special shout out and sort of moment of recognition to Jamie Clayton's interpretation of Hellraiser because
fabulous.
It was amazing. I got to give it to Hulu. I mean, they were touching like a precious IP when they said they were going to remake Hellraiser. And I was like, oh my God, please don't mess this up because it's one of my favorite movies movies of all time, and they really didn't. I actually liked all the liberties they took. I thought it was just as creative. It wasn't perfect, but none of them are, and it was good.
From the movie, the looks of the Cenobites, I think, were great.
Oh,
Yeah.
When they first debuted Jamie Clayton's look, I was like, oh, this is sort of, I mean, they're all androgynous in their own way, but I feel like the way that they presented Jamie Clayton's head Cenobite or lead Cenobite or whatever, I was like, oh, this is fresh and new. And she was in red and
red and
flesh.
white. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I loved it. But yeah, Pinhead to me is number one no matter what. I remember, when Hellraiser came out and I was very, very young, but you would see Pinhead on Fangoria cover and it just changed fashion and horror, in my opinion. Well, horror fashion, I should say, and it didn't affect the fashion world, obviously. But no, I think it really upped the game for creativity and gore and all that at the time. So Pinhead is our number one. I'm curious if people at home agree with us or not.
Yeah, please write in and let us know.
Or tweet at Ian.
At Ian, that's
Attack
it.
Ian. It's his fault.
Yay!
For everything you agree with, you can thank Drac and I, and for everything you don't like, you can tweet Ian.
Touch my precious IP.
All right, my darlings, that's all the time we have for this episode of Creatures of the Night. We do hope you enjoyed our top 10 countdown of the most iconic looks from the world of horror. If you like what you're listening to and you love us, you need to prove it by going on and rating, subscribing, and reviewing to the podcast everywhere so that we feel loved and appreciated. Thank you, Uglies. We'll see you next time. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Drac Morta and Swantula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spectre.